Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Crystal, what's on the show today?
I am pretty excited about our show today. We've got some good stuff. We've got a Texas GOP official who's going to talk about that state and whether that is in play for Democrats. We've got a reporter on the ground in Iowa who's going to tell us what's going on there and one county in particular that she's looking at. We've got new polling that's really interesting. So much good stuff to dig into today on Rising. What are you looking at, Saagar?
I'm looking at a shameful act by a United States Congressman. Joaquin Castro, the chairman of Julian Castro, his brother's campaign, tweeted out a list of his own constituents in the city of San Antonio who were donors to President Donald Trump. We've blurred those names because we do not believe in doxing at this show. Joaquin Castro doxed his own constituents. That's as simple as it gets. Now, the argument is, yeah, it was public record and FEC rules are there. Can you imagine if a GOP congressman had done the same to one of his opponents as donors? This is just so far out of the bounds of civilized behavior that it is setting the stage for a deep conflict in this country. Increasingly, big business and their compatriots in the media are making it so that there is no safe place for you in this country if you are a member of the GOP. If you espouse conservative beliefs like those that come out of the mouth of President Donald Trump, it is so morally objectionable to these people that you are no longer welcome in elite society. Think about that. You are setting the stage for civil war in this country. Now, I'm not being dramatic here. This is actually the set of circumstances that is being set. Just think about it. If you were going to make it so that 65 million people in this country are no longer welcome in your society, you are setting the stage for legitimate armed conflict. That is how these things began. Is if you make it so that the people who do not believe what you believe, who are a member of the other party, are no longer welcome in your society. I cannot repeat this enough. Then how are you supposed to live together? We set up a democratic system of politics where we get to debate things. You can find things morally objectionable, but you solve those problems through the democratic and the political process, not by ostracizing your own constituents in a world where now that those names are out there, don't you expect these people to be harassed? All of this is built on a false conceit, which is that the Trump administration and that being a Republican in general is so morally objectionable and out of step with what America is in the first place that they don't deserve the same consideration and thoughtfulness that your liberal compatriots do. And Crystal, I think that this is something that it was a terrible act. I think that if a Republican were to do the same thing, I would denounce it right here on the show. I think it's disgusting. And I really worry because so many people in the mainstream media, Joe Scarborough was tweeting in support of this. This is dangerous. It is straight up dangerous. And that's what I'm so concerned about it.
A couple of things. Yeah. I think you would be consistent because you are very sort of consistent, non-hypocritical, ideologically, you apply the same standards to the left and the right. However, it is hard for me to take serious some of the criticism here when the same people who are criticizing Joaquin Castro are silent when a mass murderer who posts an anti-immigrant screed echoing the language of the President of the United States do everything they can to deflect blame and say there's nothing to see here, they're not connected, these words don't possibly incite violence. So the standard has to be applied on both sides. This was not helpful. Yeah. Joaquin Castro should be better than this. If Democrats want to have the moral high ground here and say you should not be targeting your political enemies, you should not be using that language that incites violence, we should be better than this. Yeah. But I will say, this is all public info. I mean, he didn't. I don't call this doxing because doxing implies that you're publishing some, person's physical address, specifically their location, something that is non-public info. This is all, if you go to the FEC website, it's all right there. It's their names,
my phone number,
and their employer.
Your phone number, everything is in the white pages. The point of the tweet really is he tagged certain people and businesses in his own district That is a shame. That is ridiculous. I mean, you are supposed to be a congressman who represents your district, and you're doxing your own constituents. And I think it's doxing because doxing is a very specifically revealing of information, personal information about a person for the purposes of targeted harassment. Now, he specifically named these businesses in order to incite a boycott as a public official. Now, when Trump does this against Nike and all these other places, I'm not happy about it. And I've actually spoken out against it. I will call out Nike, but
Trump celebrated the robbery of Elijah Cummings. Look at the way that he's targeted Congress members of color in recent weeks. And that's my thing, is I just think the criticism is very cynical. I'm not talking about from you, because like I said, I think you're very consistent. But much of the criticism is so cynical when the President of the United States says things that are so much worse, and where we see in the towns where he holds rallies, 262% increase in reported hate crimes. Like, we see the result of that, and people pretend that there's nothing problematic about what's going on.
Well, I will say one thing, which is you don't want to lose the moral high ground, which is what so many Democratic candidacies have been trying to run on. And this helps nobody. It hurts the cause, and it truly will spark fear in, like, if you think the Trump presidency is geared upon fear and about cultural rejection, this doesn't help.
And I think you're right to point out that we are in a very ugly, dangerous moment, and everyone needs to act accordingly. Next on Rising, you may not have been there, but you can bet Clinton County, Iowa has impacted your life when it comes to who is elected president.
The Des Moines Register's chief politics reporter tells us why Clinton County is so important when Rising continues.